Hi everybody and welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to be making some ground beef pockets and some marinara sauce to dip them in. Now this is going to be quite an undertaking, so first let's take a look at what we're going to do with the dough. I'm going to give the instructions to Alex over here and she's going to put together the dough. This secret family recipe is going to be put together by Alex for the first time. You excited? Mm-hmm. All right. And I'm going to give away this recipe for some of the best dough that I've had, that I've made, I should say. So, here we go. Here's some of the things we're going to need. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the flour, okay, and we're going to start by pouring the flour that we need. 2 cups of flour we're going to pour into this bowl. And it's got to be a Kenmore bowl. It can't be any bowl. Kenmore bowl is the only one that'll work for this recipe. In that bowl, what we're going to do is put the 2 cups of flour in this little measuring cup right here. We're going to mix 1 cup of water with this packet of yeast, which should measure to be 2 1/4 tablespoons of yeast. And we're going to mix this together in this cup here, and then we're going to pour that into the flour. Okay, in the flour, we're also going to have 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, which I don't see on the table. It's a good thing we read the directions first. And 1/4 cup of olive oil. You ready to put it together?
Yep. I don't really know how to scoot it up over there.
Ah, well that's a little trick I learned. And it goes something like this here. If you kind of go like this. Okay, kind of tap it around there. There we go. That's about a cup. That's what you're going to put in there, yeah? And then 1 more of that.
Okay. So we have this, we got the tablespoon. Now, the guaranteed thing is to pour it over here.
That's a good lesson right there. Yeah, you pour it over the mix so all the extra goes in there.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay.
Now.
2 teaspoons of baking powder.
Okay. Now.
Yeah, now mix that together with the fork there. Just mix it together, kind of gently stirring it in.
What is this?
It's yeast.
From what? A bug?
From a bug? They are, I believe they're actually living microorganisms.
Ugh.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
What is that? Ugh.
Okay, I'm going to get a little flour on the table here for my hands if I need it. Now, the trick with this dough here is it's got to be kneaded by hand. Okay, so I'm going to get my hands all up in there and start kneading this dough. I'm not using a mixer or anything like that. I'm using my hands.
Now, if it's not to like the dough you want it to be at, like sticking, that means you need a little bit more flour.
That is absolutely right. Yep, if it's too sticky, you can always add a little more flour.
And
but
that seems to be the problem.
Not quite. Not quite. I want it a little sticky. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just cover this bowl right here with some plastic wrap. And I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit until that rises. Now, meanwhile, while that's rising, I'm going to go ahead and start cooking the ground beef. And what I'm going to do is put the ground beef in these little pouches. I'm going to cut these little pouches out of this and kind of roll them over, kind of like the croissant rolls with the ground beef in them. Only it's going to be something a little different, hopefully. I'm going to need to let this pan preheat for a little bit, because cast iron pans, you got to kind of let them preheat a little bit. I'm going to let it do that before I start throwing the beef in there. So in with the ground beef, we're going to put a couple of bell peppers and a couple of onions. And I'm going to cut them up with this Kenmore knife that I unveiled the other day in an unboxing. And I'll show you how good this thing cuts. I mean, the blade just slides right through. It's amazing. time to season the meat. We're going to use a little bit of garlic salt, a little bit of basil, a little organic Italian seasoning. And it doesn't have to be organic by any means. It just happens to be like that for some reason. And I'm looking for, one of my favorites, a little bit low, oregano. I don't think I'm going to put as much oregano in here as I would like. I'm also going to season the meat with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And I almost forgot garlic powder. Can't have too much of that. The peppers, I'm going to put them in with the meat because I want the peppers to get well cooked. I want them to get that meat flavoring through them. The flavor of the ground beef. And the flavor of all the stuff that I'm cooking the ground beef and all the seasonings and such. So as I chop up these peppers, I'm just going to toss them right in there.
It smells really good.
It does. It does smell pretty good. And I'll tell you what, this Norman Bates knife, it works pretty good. I'm dropping my recipe down to 1 onion because the other one was kind of squishy and growing green things out of the middle of it. Probably could have planted it. Okay, what we're going to do is roll this dough out. Hopefully it's ready. And we're going to cut it into little squares to wrap the meat in. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it might need a little bit more flour though.
It might. Let's see. Pat some up on there. Okay. Let's see about rolling it over there.
Yep, that looks perfect
All
now.
right, that looks good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see what happens when we roll this out. It's rolling fairly nice.
Or maybe we should make them Christmas tree style.
Yeah, let's get the Christmas cookie cutters out.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is kind of cut these. And ideally, it would be triangles. But that may very well not happen here. Okay. So I'm just going to cut them into something at this point that I can roll up.
This is going to be a nice dinner.
Well, don't count your chickens. It's going to be a dinner. Okay.
smells good.
It does.
Now, did you make this recipe up?
Yes, I did. So it's highly experimental here. And it may not work.
Like, is there such thing as stuff like this, triangle wrapped hamburger meat, ground beef, like triangles?
Yeah, I've seen something similar done with croissant rolls.
Oh.
This is why it's a little better if it's triangle folded, because then you can kind of, or it's triangle cut, because then you can kind of just fold the edges up and leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the rest of this dough. I think we're going to use it to make a little flatbread pizza, a little mini pizza, because we got a lot of meat left over here. So I like to use cast iron, of course. Put a little oil in the pan. Lightly oil it. Just like this. Well, or you could call it heavy oil in it. I don't know. But we're going to get this in there. Kind of spread that out a little bit. And this is an option for the rest of the meat. Let's set the oven for 445. All right. So after about 15 minutes of this heating, I want to take it out and start putting the cheese on it. This gives the crust a little extra time to cook without burning the cheese. So let's take a look at this cast iron pizza right here. Oh man.
Did you put some cheese on
That
it?
looks pretty good. I sure did. Can't you tell? Look at that cheese all melted on there. Take a look at these. Okay. They're not looking bad. And I have the spatula here so you can kind of see the bottom of them. They're not stuck to the pan. One piece. Came out a little better than I expected. I think the only thing we have to do on this is perfect the roll. The dough is good. Seems to be a good texture. We just got to perfect the roll. Roll it up right.
I think I'm gonna have that one right there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you that one, and you can tell me how it is.
Okay. The garlic salt is a little salty on it.
The garlic salt's a little salty on it. So you're saying it tastes bad?
It tastes good, but it's a little salty.